honeysuckle soup on a hot summer day. Coffee comes back in a nerve-wracking way. The dishes and laundry take the garbage out. What a day, what a day, what a day.
Well, welcome to Capital Region Today. We've got a great lineup for you today. You are going to learn all about taxes, by the way. This is going to be a good thing for all of us, I guess, even me. Believe it or not, I hate to do them myself. But we're going to be having a great show. We're going to be starting off with Kate Dudding. She is always here to tell us a story, and we're excited to hear what the story is going to be today because she has some really great ones. And I always learn something because it's really about a real person most of the time. And then Richard Zazycki is here, and he's going to talk about taxes, and he's going to tell us how we can get our taxes done for free. Yes, that is free. I know there's that commercial, free, but this one really is free. And then we're going to talk to the Classic Theater Guild, and they brought a really great group of people here, and we're going to be talking about Broken Glass. That's Arthur Miller's play, and it's coming up soon, and we're going to find out where you can see it and what it's all about. And then we're going to be talking about Homemade Theater, and they are doing a production as well. And they're playing our song. Well, let's hope that they are playing our song because we're going to find out what song they will be playing. We've got a great lineup. So we're going to start right out with our first guest. And our first guest is, of course, Kate Dudding. She's my favorite storyteller, and she's with the Story Circle at Proctors, and she's going to be talking about word plays. And word plays has a theme, and it's called Back in the Saddle. And I'm assuming it means back in the saddle now after COVID, but well, with COVID, I don't know. But Kate, tell us all about it.
Well, we're back at Proctors.
Oh, that's your Back in the Saddle.
We've been virtual since September of 2020, and the theme of that show was Lemons to Lemonade. That had been the theme for March of 2020, which we were unable to do at Proctors. But by September, we had gotten our virtual act together. So we've done a number of productions virtually, but on January 30th, we will be back at the saddle hybrid-wise. We will be live up in the Delac room, that's the guild room, above the arcade on the balcony next to the bathrooms.
Okay, okay.
Very lovely room.
Oh, is it on the balcony area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it has big windows.
Yeah, they changed location. I know a couple of times to the guild room.
Right. The VIP lounge is.
Oh, the VIP lounge now. Okay.
Are going.
That's a nice intimate room.
Yes, yes. And so for storytelling, that's what we look for, intimacy. So we'll be there live at 2 p.m. But we will be taping our program, and it will be available online subsequently. So people can join us virtually and hopefully donate to us.
Yeah.
And we have 8 storytellers telling a variety of different kinds of stories about being back in the saddle.
Okay, and who are your storytellers?
Oh, I wish I had prepared for that.
Okay. Well, let's see. I don't even have it here in front of me, but it was on your flyer. I think that's why.
Right. It's
well, that's okay.
Yes.
Oh, I know Joe Doolittle is one of them.
Yes, I'm telling a story. Sandy Schumann is, Siri Allison is, Janine Laverty.
See, and you knew them all now. Here.
Well, no, I'm up to 4 or 5 now.
But you have 8 storytellers.
Yes.
If you can read that small writing, you're all set.
Beverly Schwartz, she was the last. I think Nancy Marie Payne and Claire Nolan. I think I have them all.
Okay, good.
And I apologize to all of them for not having that in
because
front of
I blindsided her.
I brought our little flyer of
not the big one, though.
Yeah, the little one that talks about all 3 of our performances. We will be the last Sunday in January, February, and March.
Okay, so you've selected those dates.
Well, Proctors wanted us in the building at the same time something else was happening. We're too small for them to just open the building.
Well, and it makes sense.
So there will be Broadway shows in the main theater. We'll be up in the Delac room. February 27th, it's For Better or Worse.
Okay.
And March 27th, near April Fool's Day, Wise Fools.
Okay.
And I ran across that phrase and I went, I wonder what my tellers, our tellers, will come up with. And that was the performance I got the most possibilities for.
Really?
So
you wouldn't expect that,
Yes,
but yeah.
I did not expect that at all. I was thinking, well, maybe Sandy Schumann specializes, well, one of his specialties is in stories from the Jewish village of Helm. And the way the story goes is God sent when God was populating the earth initially, God sent an angel up with a big sack full of foolish people, and the angel was supposed to sprinkle them all over the world. But something happened, air turbulence, we don't know what exactly, but all the foolish people were dumped on this one village of Helm. And so I figured, well, I could ask Sandy to tell.
What a cute fable that is.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. And so they look at, this is a really quick Helm story. Once there were two men in Helm taking a walk, and it started to rain. One man looked at the other and said, "Haven't you noticed it's raining? Why don't you open your umbrella?" "Oh, it doesn't work." "Well, then why did you bring it?" "I didn't think it was going to rain." So, like in the Cajafol, looking at the world at a different angle. Yes, that's an example. Wisdom, I guess.
Well, he was wise to bring it, even though,
Right.
well, whatever.
Yes. So that's our upcoming, the second half of our season. It'll be our hybrid season back at Proctors. So
Let's talk about storytelling, because I love to tell stories, and I've given some workshops on stories. So it's fun to do, and what I have done in the past is I have a list of 20 top, just one-liners, like my first parking ticket or whatever it is, and I hand them out, and then a person is supposed to pick that. And it's amazing how many people have a story in them that they don't think they have, and yet they tell it, and everybody in the room is just hanging on their every word.
Yes.
So stories are so important.
yes, and Joe Doolittle, my producing partner, as well as Siri Allison for the Wordplay series, likes to tell personal stories, and he thinks of them as generative. That you tell your story about your parking ticket, and somebody else will go, "Oh, I was pulled over on my way to dance class because I snuck through a parking lot, and my biggest fear was someone from class would recognize me and see me pulled over."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, this is funny because that was one of the stories that was told about a teacher who got pulled over, and her class was looking out the window and saw her, because they were watching for her,
Right.
and saw her pulled over by the police.
Yes.
Because she had a broken taillight. It wasn't
Well,
a major
okay,
thing.
it wasn't-
But the point was that, so you tell that, and that was exactly the same story that this person told at this event.
Right, and I was in a class once with my mentor, Elizabeth Ellis from Dallas, Texas, the first class I was in of hers. And as a breaker, an icebreaker for the class, she said, "Now, you pair up, and if there's an odd person, I'll listen to their story. But I want you to think about a scar on your body."
Oh, I did that too.
And everybody, that was not a problem. Everybody has multiple scars on their bodies, and so it could be the chickenpox scar, or my brother's metal garage, toy garage, or
I did that. One of the ones I did was a scar too. And it's amazing how people will pick out, things that I think, I throw it on because I think, I need to fill up the list,
Right.
And that will be the most popular one. I mean, whether the scar one was popular, and the one about the driving or
Right.
parking tickets was very popular. I never even thought. And then my first car was very poignant because it came from a grandfather or something, and then so it was I enjoyed it, so it was good. But the point was is that there's a story in all of us.
right.
So you've brought a story with us
Yes,
today.
I do.
So-
Another one, I don't think I've shared this with you, about Julia Child.
Okay, great stories about her.
Okay.
She's an amazing woman. Besides.
Yes, yes.
Not just a chef, but she's an amazing woman.
Right. Ready? I saw the movie Julie and Julia. That spawned my interest in Julia Child. And I wondered, they portrayed her marriage as very passionate. And I was wondering, did Hollywood take some license there or what? So I started to do some research. And I found out that she met her husband, Paul, when they were both working for the OSS, which was a predecessor of the CIA, in India during World War II. But they never would have met except for that. They traveled in different worlds. Julia grew up as a member of a wealthy California family. She went to boarding school, and then she went to Smith College. Not because she was academically oriented, but because her mother had gone there. Julia herself said, "I was an adolescent nut. I should never have been admitted to a serious university. I spent my time there growing up and doing as little as I had to get by." And then after that, she flitted between New York City and California, sometimes having a job, but hadn't found herself. Now, her husband-to-be, Paul, grew up in Boston and Paris. His widowed mother supported them by being a singer and having a lover now and then who helped out the family. He spent 5 years in Paris as an adult, 1925 to 1930, studying art, drawing, etching, painting, and wood carving. Quite a variety of types of art. He knew Gertrude Stein. And then he spent 20 years as a teacher of young people, teenagers, in Venice, in Paris, and in the United States. On his topics in school, he taught photography and painting, English, French, and judo. He was a black belt, fourth class. And he had had a long affair with a woman who had died just before he entered the OSS. So when they met as colleagues in India, they wrote the same word in their diary among their initial reactions: pleasant. Did not start out passionate at all. Pleasant. And then, very slowly, over 20 months, they had dinners together, they went to the movies, and in India they weren't around active fighting. They were in a headquarters, so they explored the countryside together. They read Hemingway to each other, to the point where at the end of the 20 months, for Julia's 33rd birthday, Paul wrote her a poem which started, "How like autumn's warmth is Julia's face, and how like summer's heat is her embrace. So filled with nature's bounty, nature's worth, wherein at last she melts my frozen earth." Yes, it eventually did get passionate. They came home after the war, and I think sort of like romances that start on a cruise, romances during wartime, maybe you want to touch bases with each other in real life before you commit to each other. So they met each other's families, not so successfully with Julia's conservative family in California, but very successfully with Paul's twin brother in Maine. And at the end of that visit, they announced that they were going to get married. Now, 8 years later, Paul wrote to his brother, "I hate to think what a sour old reprobate I would have been without that face to look at." I know we don't think of Julia as necessarily attractive, but in her younger years, she was in her 50s, but before she got on TV. In her younger years, I think she was. And he also referred to her as the 6'2" leggy brunette from Pasadena. So And they had a playful side. They never got around to having Christmas cards, but by Valentine's Day, they would send out cards. And this they sent out after 8 years of marriage. Yes, they're in a bathtub together with a bubble bath. And it says, "Wish you were here. Happy Valentine's Day." Okay, but then I discovered the birthday present that Paul gave Julia for her 53rd birthday. It was a makeup mirror to help her put on her makeup for a television show. And I thought, Paul, you walked off the cliff on that one. I mean, you could have given, a vacuum cleaner. I mean, makeup mirror, But then I discovered the sonnet he wrote to go with that makeup mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is fairest of them all? Fair like foul, like overdone, like tall and small and very wise, lies in mind and in the eyes. Seek your answer, dearest lass, not in frame, in lens or glass. They are useless, dumb, and blind. In my eyes and in my mind the answer lies, and in this scrawl, you are fairest of them all.
Oh,
And I went, okay, Paul, passion's still there. The movie was right.
that's a wonderful story. Wonderful story. That's the kind of story you'll hear. Not that one particular,
Right.
but you'll hear a story similar to that. Are they all based on real people? Or?
No. One's
Obviously, the umbrella one wouldn't be.
right. Janine is telling a literary story. I remember that. I am telling a recent story that based on an article I read in Yankee Magazine. And so that's about real people in Portland, Maine. A chorus of girls, all immigrants.
Mm.
It's a fascinating story.
Well, you're going to have to go to hear them,
Yes,
right? And so when is
exactly.
that? That's on the Sunday, the 30th?
Exactly.
In the DLAC room.
Right. And if you want to watch us virtually, go to our website, storycircle@proctors.org, and join our email list. And when the film is available online, I'll send out an email blast.
Good. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, it's my
always
pleasure,
a
as
pleasure to
always.
have you on and hear about stories. Love seeing you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we're going to switch over to another topic, which is appropriate but painful at many times. So, but you're going to make things a lot easier for us. And how are you
I'm
going
gonna
to do
try.
that, Richard?
Well, Ann, it's nice to be back, thanks.
Yeah, it's always good to see you.
Pleasure. On behalf of the Sisters of Mercy and everybody at Circles, we want to extend a Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your 24th year of community
Is
service.
that possible?
Oh, we're doing the same thing. It's
Yeah.
our 24th year.
Is
so,
it? Oh, wow.
yeah. So it's good
We're
that
partners.
Yeah, partners in crime and provide
Or
the service.
whatever.
But speaking of crime, we're going to again provide to the community free income tax preparation. As you know, this is something that's just not done at Circles of Mercy. It's done regionally through the CAS Coalition.
You're just partnering
Yeah,
with them.
yeah. So the information that we share today is certainly applicable throughout the region. Probably the best way for people to contact and get an appointment for their tax return is by dialing 211.
That's United Way.
United Way through the social services. And all the caller has to do is give the operator your zip code, and then they will tell you what various agencies are available.
Could be library, could be wherever.
Any place.
Yeah.
It could be any place.
ARP and all of those. Yeah.
Those things. We also have the ability to provide self preparation of your own taxes, a secure online link,
Is that My Free Taxes?
My Free Taxes.
I used that last year, by the way. I want to tell you, I used it last year.
And how'd you find it?
It was very, and I have somewhat little, not really complex, but I have,
Yeah.
retirement with different things. It's coming in. I thought it was really easy. I get my paperwork done, which is not too hard because I keep up with it. I sat down, I got it done all at once and hit send.
Excellent. And you
I don't
filed
think
both-
it took me more than a couple of hours.
Yeah,
for
and
the
it
whole-
allowed you to file both your federal and state.
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was that's my experience.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly a good idea if you're like yourself and you're not intimidated by going through the process. The software that they use.
It's very
simple.
Intuitive.
Yeah. So it asks the questions, you fill in the amounts and all that other filing information. And, if you have a direct deposit for your refund, or if you have to pay.
you do that, yeah.
Or if you have to pay, they'll do an electronic
Exactly.
transfer out of your account. So it all does well. Unfortunately, last year we did just virtual. We didn't provide any face-to-face service. And we're going to be doing with the Omicron and everything that's going on right now, that's what we're going to do at least going into the beginning of the filing season. It'll be a virtual service. Clients will, contact us. We'll make arrangements for them to stop by. I'll greet them outside. We'll get their tax information from them, and then it gets assigned to a volunteer. Now, once the volunteer gets it, they process the return, enter the information like you did by yourself online, and then we take it the next step, and then it gets passed to someone else who then quality reviews the return to make sure that it's filed correctly, that there's been no transposition of figures and numbers, and that everything checks out, and then it gets reviewed with the client. And then once the client signs off on it, then it's electronically transferred and uploaded to the IRS.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was really easy to do. But there again, I have been doing it in my own taxes for years. So,
Yeah.
and I have been using, in the past, I used TurboTax.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, which I'm ashamed to say, but I don't want to download Windows 10. And of
Yeah.
course, it won't work unless you do Windows 10. That's why I went over to My Free Taxes, and I found it to be. Now, is there an amount that it will kick you out and say, we won't do it because you make too much money?
Right. Well, at the virtual or face-to-face VITA sites, the income limit is $58,000.
Okay.
On the My Free Taxes or those online URLs, I believe it's 10,000 more that they allow. So I think it's 67 or 68,000. So that's kind of the income limit. The purpose of the VITA program was to afford the ability for low-income clients and seniors the ability to get their taxes done free. And to avail themselves, particularly the low-income families, to avail themselves of the Earned Income Tax Credit and child care credits.
Right.
So those two programs through the federal government are the most popular program and the number one way to lift families out of poverty. So what we try to do is allow the low-income families to avail themselves of this service. It's kind of complicated during 2021 because Congress passed the ability for the families to take an advance on their earned income
Yeah, and
tax
I don't think
credits.
people understood that either.
I don't
They
think-
think it was
another pocket of money.
yeah, no, they took it off their own.
Yeah, they took it off what potentially they would get filing
As a
their
refund,
return.
yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that all ferrets itself out.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened, and a lot of people aren't aware of this, is that all of the withholding taxes, the tables for your withholding tax, both federal, FICA, your New York State, all those got adjusted so that you ended up with more money in your paycheck. So you've got more revenue that's come in.
So you're expecting, that.
And you're not going to have held back enough funds to cover all of your taxes.
Exactly, so they're going to be surprised.
So,
Surprise!
yeah, so it's going to be a double whammy, and unfortunate, we tried to get the word out earlier during the year when I was on the show previously, but, sometimes people don't pay attention, and, they're living paycheck to paycheck, so It's certainly been a challenging time for the clients as well as for nonprofit agencies.
So
in the
what
region.
happens when they find out at the end of the year that they figured that their withholding is covering everything, maybe they have a little money in the bank to save or whatever, and now they find out they have to pay a chunk of change and they don't have it?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, they're between a rock and a hard place, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. And what we do is we encourage clients to make contact with the IRS, to get in touch with the tax advocate. They'll review the return. They'll make sure that they have afforded themselves and availed themselves of whatever write-offs and tax credits that they have. And then they can come up with a payment plan with the IRS.
So they're amenable to
Yeah,
working with you.
so as long as you do those things and the IRS doesn't have to go hunt you
Looking
down.
for you.
Yeah, send out the revenuers.
You mean they're not going to call me on the phone and tell me that?
No, they're not going to call you on the phone. They're not going to do anything.
So everybody
you-
should know you're not going to get a phone call.
Right, and you're the one that's going to have to initiate the contact. So that's the good part about the bad part about not having withheld enough. So that should tell the client that maybe they need to adjust their W-4 for 2022 to make
To
sure.
make more out,
Yeah.
or take one more, or one less deduction.
That or take more out. For example.
Well,
if-
that when you take one, if you have two people and you only take one,
Right.
then you've.
Or let's say you're at zero and you're still getting whacked.
Yeah.
Then maybe what you should do is, let's say you paid $1,000 in tax penalty. So maybe take out an extra $100 a month through your payroll, so
Yeah,
that you've
exactly.
got that cushion in there, so that you don't have to pay.
You can always get it
extra.
back if you paid too much in.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people say, well, I don't want to give the government any more money, but on the other hand, you don't want to get blindsided at the end of the year either.
Yeah, true. So the IRS just announced that the filing season will open the last Monday of January. It'll follow, and the final filing date is Monday, April the 18th.
Yeah, because of the holiday
Yeah,
in
15th,
Boston, I
yeah,
think,
yeah,
Boston,
the fifth- well,
Massachusetts.
Yeah, the 15th, Easter's late this year, so the 15th is actually Good Friday. So the following 18th would be that Monday.
I
and
see,
That's
okay.
the cutoff. The other thing that I think is kind of important is calling, when you call to schedule your appointment, you're going to be reminded about the various different documents that you need to produce. First and foremost is a picture ID. With the amount of identity theft that goes on, we want to make sure that whoever return we're processing is that person's return. So we ask for a picture ID like a driver's license, and that's kind of important because when you file your state return, there's a code on the back of your driver's license that needs to be entered in for your state
And I
return.
had trouble figuring out what that code was.
Yeah.
It was like,
And-
what number are they talking about?
And the interesting thing about New York State is everybody's return is audited before the refund is sent out. They have a great software program.
Yeah,
So
it looks for highlights for
yeah.
any errors.
So that's why it takes longer for the state refund to come, and we don't give any timing on that. Whereas with the direct deposit of your federal refund, you'll get that in 7 to 10
Yeah,
business days.
right away. And don't get a pay, what is a loan?
Yeah,
What do they call it when they?
Refund anticipation loan.
That's a loan.
Yeah.
It's
lot
a
of-
loan.
It is, and and if you pay it right back, you're fine. If you miss that first payment date, then you're talking about a return.
Probably 17%.
Oh, it's higher. It's 25, almost 25%.
25%?
Yeah, in some places. So that's something that people need to be wary of. So
Yeah, they
besi-
think that they're getting their money back and, well, it's my money and I want it now, one of those things.
Yeah,
And
well,
it's
they're
like,
getting-
no, it doesn't work that
No,
way.
it's a loan. You know,
It's a
It's a loan on their refund. So besides the picture ID, original Social Security card for anybody that's getting their return or that's going to be included in the return, your W-2s and any 1099s, Like if you're retired, you're going to get a 1099-R. INT for
yeah,
interest, DIV for dividends. So all those kind of 1099s have important information that need to be reported and included. Any other IRS forms that are appropriate, if available, and we've never seen you prior to you contacting us, then a copy of your previous return, your 2020 return, would be helpful for the volunteers. The other thing, too, is anyone that gets their insurance through the New York State of Health Marketplace, that there's a premium, tax credit premium, that's placed on that cost for that insurance that needs to be reported to your taxes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what the state does is it discounts that insurance coverage, but then they want to see what you can pay back towards it on your taxes, if that's possible.
Yeah.
And if not, then the insurance continues. Checking account for direct deposits, checking or saving accounts, bank routing numbers, and account numbers are important. And then if you're claiming dependent care for your children, we'll need the child care person's name and their social security number.
Okay.
Because if you're going to
Cross-check, yeah.
Right, not only that, but if you're going to write off part of
Then that's their income.
that's their income, that needs to be reported back, and then you get that credit, but then, they're going to check to make sure that person filed their taxes.
Right.
The other thing to remember is all of our volunteers, dedicated group of people, are all certified. They all take exams and are certified through the IRS to prepare returns. Last year, our 3 sites, now we have 3 partners. There's Circles of Mercy. We have Joanne, our friend Joanne Passanel, retired from the IRS. She does our mobile operation, and they travel around to various churches and fraternal groups to do returns. And then we have a third partner, Colleen Golston in Troy. So between the 3 sites last year, we did not quite 700 returns.
And that's through COVID.
Yeah, and it all done virtually.
Yeah.
None of it was done face to face. So when I say virtually, normally you'd come sit down at the table, I'd do your return, you'd be out in 45 minutes. Virtually, we're talking about a 2-week period.
Yeah.
So even though that it's a challenge, that's how many returns that we did, and brought back over $1 million in refunds
back into
and
the
credits.
community.
And people take that money and pay their bills. They pay their rent, they buy their food, they pay their utility bills, they get clothes for their kids. So, it's important for the economy locally for people to get their taxes done for free.
Exactly.
So last year we had 38 volunteers, dedicated volunteers, did almost 2,800 hours.
Oh my God.
Huge amount of time. And we're talking people that want to make sure that the clients in the community get to have their taxes done for free.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's all.
And they're dedicated. The fact that they're doing them all, Who does their taxes?
Well, a lot of them do their own.
Yeah, I would assume by that time you're doing it your own.
Do their own, and then they have somebody else check it to make sure it's correct. But it's all part of our mission at Circles of providing hope, hospitality, and empowerment to individuals.
Yeah.
And not just in the Rensselaer community. Many of our tax clients come from various areas of the capital region.
Right.
And your program reaches out to a lot of people.
Yeah,
So
well, we're called Capital Region because not for nothing, because that's what we do reach. And it's important that they call 211 to make an appointment so that they can get their taxes. And if they're living in Saratoga and they still call 211, they're going to get directed.
Right, they're going to get, as long, when they give the operator their zip code, she puts that entry into the system, and it pops up and tells her all
where the sites
are within the county, or within that zip code area. Good. And then and in some cases, they may be able to make the appointment. Bottom line is, if just go to our website, circlesofmercy.org. We'll have the tax information there. They can call me at the office, 518-462-0899, or email me at circlesofmercy@nicap.rr.com.
Right, and that's
we'll
it.
we'll get them the information.
Right, and while you're on the show, do you want to tell us a little bit about what Circles of Mercy does?
Yeah, sure. Circles of Mercy is an outreach agency. It's located in Rensselaer, New York. It was established by the Sisters of Mercy. They have had a presence in the Diocese of Albany since 1863.
Wow.
They came up from New York on a night ferry, and the first bishop of Albany at that point was Cardinal John McCluskey. And the cardinal had them come up. They set up an orphanage and a convent in Rensselaer. So there's been a mercy presence since 1863. The sisters have been involved not only with the establishment and the founding of St. Peter's Hospital. The sisters founded Maria College. They've been involved in teaching, nursing, social services, providing hope and hospitality throughout the region. So we've been, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we were set up in 1997 by the sisters, and we're into our 24th year. So it's we have an average of about 1,600 clients that we've taken care of through the pandemic. The thrift store is open Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 10 to 2. You got to be vaccinated and wear a mask.
Yeah.
And then other things that I can do, I try to do curbside. People call ahead of time if they need diapers or wipes, or even when we were literally shut down. People needed clothing, they would just call.
You'd have it all ready for
We'd
them.
have it already packaged and just pick it up off the front porch.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah,
So but I did want to address what some of the other things that you do
Yeah,
for the with the organization, because it's been a godsend for many people, and I guess that literally and figuratively.
And it's because of you that we're able to share those stories that take place.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for being here.
My
and
pleasure.
I hope you get your taxes done.
Thank you. You
Yeah.
too. I look
Okay,
forward to
good.
seeing you soon.
Yeah, I'm going to do my free taxes again, and believe me, it was a breeze to do. I can't tell you how easy it was, but just get your paperwork together first before you do that. But we're going to be swinging over to our next guest, which is from the Classic Theater Guild, and we're going to be talking about broken glass. What's that about?
Hi, Ann.
Hi, good to see you.
Broken Glass is one of the more recent plays by Arthur Miller. He was
Yeah,
a very
Arthur.
impactful playwright
Yeah.
in the first half of the 20th century into the 90s. Actually, I spoke to his secretary once, but I couldn't talk to him in person. It was
Okay.
about broken glass.
Okay.
It's about relationships of some couples in New York City in 1938. They used the
Okay,
back-
1938 is
1938.
before Germany invaded Poland.
It's right before they made Poland, but the Anschluss that happened around that time.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of upset with the legal strictures they were putting on a lot of minority populations. So they used the backdrop of Kristallnacht. That's what
Kristallnacht is when they broke the glass and blamed it on the wrong people, right?
Well, they blamed it on the people they wanted to blame.
Yeah, exactly.
As
Well,
opposed
that's
to-
true, they
as
did
opposed to
that.
Who did it.
That was
That's right.
their plan to blame, and that, isn't that what we do when we want to demonize a group, right?
The reason I'm interested in the play is because of the interplay.
Okay.
It's incredibly relevant to, I think, things we struggle with today in
Oh,
politics, not
that's-
just in the United States.
Well, that's what I
Exactly
kind of
so.
brought that up.
Yeah. So that's my interest in it. And I actually just did a production of Cabaret with the same interest in it.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
But the story it uses it as a backdrop. It uses the reporting, which is like the social media angle today.
Yep.
And how that reporting and that information is impinging on people in New York City who have ethnic connections to East New York, where this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But their relationships are also troubled. The trouble in their relationships is amplified by the problems that they're seeing in the newspapers.
Oh, yeah.
So the story is really about
Very relevant.
digging into those relationships, a doctor that gets involved to try and help the relationship, and they use other characters, the doctor's wife as confidant.
And I see you brought Lisa Pfeiffer with you,
Yes,
too.
Lisa's
yeah.
right here.
And she's in the play, and she plays, do I have it right?
Sylvia
Sylvia.
Gilbert.
Sylvia, yeah. And how do you like your part?
It's challenging. It's challenging. My character is paralyzed. It's a hysterical paralysis, and my brain sometimes becomes paralyzed.
Okay.
But it's a fascinating piece, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, and did you have to kind of get into the character's skin, so to speak, to?
Absolutely, absolutely. One of my biggest challenges has been that I have restless leg syndrome, and I cannot move my legs for this character. So sitting still.
Oh, that's right. And you need to move when you. Yeah.
Sitting still has been somewhat of a challenge, but I think I'm getting it. And
So, are you on the stage most of the time?
I'm in several scenes.
Okay.
But the thread of the narrative is around my character, so I'm there.
Yeah, you're there. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So this play, did you just tell me where it takes place? Did you say New York City?
It takes place in New York City.
Okay.
Actually, Lisa mentioned the hysterical paralysis. It's symbolic of the helplessness to influence events. And to see these events happening, they're impacting you, but you can't really do anything effective about it.
Right.
So there's a symbolism there as a personal relationship side as well as the connection to world events.
Yeah. So Lisa, how long have you been acting?
About 45 years. And I'm only 39.
I
so
know.
that's
You
incredible.
must have in the womb. In the womb.
Exactly.
Exactly. But so you really you're experienced
I
in
am.
trying to figure out how to work these characters.
Yes, but Stephen has really given us a vehicle in which to delve into our own skins, the skins of our characters, and we've worked as a group to learn those intrinsic ebbs and flows that make this piece a whole. So it's been kind of a fascinating process.
Yeah. Stephen, how many are in the production?
This production has 6 characters. On
6
stage.
characters.
And of
So
course,
it's character
the crew
driven,
backstage.
yeah.
It's all character driven.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's three performance areas that we shift the audience focus with lights. You mentioned Lisa's on quite a bit. Since she has hysterical paralysis, she's actually either in a wheelchair or transferring onto a bed. And we made sure that we never see her other than in her role, so including the scene changes.
Yeah. Well, that's what you have to do. You have to stay in your character the whole time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here, Lisa, because I think we're going to bring on another one of the, David is going to be joining us next,
It
and
was
he's
my
in the play.
pleasure.
And break a leg.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, wait a minute, you've already kind of gone through that with the wheelchair, right?
I get the essence. Thank you.
Stephen, so you're actually the general manager. Who's the director?
No, I'm directing.
You're directing it.
I'm directing the show.
Oh, you're a director and general manager.
No.
Where did I get general manager?
I'm not sure.
It came somewhere.
It's totally okay.
No, it isn't. I'm going to cross that off. He's not general manager. He's
I'm
a
the
director.
for Broken Glass.
Yeah, I wondered how I was trying to process that.
It's produced by Classic Theater Guild, which is based right here.
Yeah, right. I love them.
Right. And interesting enough, given the nature of the show, it's being produced at the theater at the Congregation.
I saw
of
that.
Israel on Main
Yeah,
Street.
Eastern Parkway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've done that before, I think, there. Or maybe,
They have done
Yeah.
a lot of shows there. I'm not sure how long they've been there.
no, well, it's been the past maybe 5 years or so.
Yeah.
I think I've seen
Yeah.
that come up there, but because it gives you space, you know.
They have a very nice space. They have a wide stage. The Classic Theater Guild technical team that I'm working with clearly has learned how to use that space. And I work with them to lay out the set design, to work with the nature of the stage, and to use the lights they had available. Thinking about how my actors like David and Lisa needed to be performing on stage.
Yeah.
They had to make the flow of play come across to the audience.
Yeah, no, I know. We worked with lighting this is our first time in this space again. We've been there before, but it's all new. Because if you're watching the show, you realize that I have one guest over here, David, and I have another one over here, Stephen. And the reason is we're about 6 feet apart. They've been vaccinated, so we really are trying to follow the COVID protocol. So I'm going to ask you, how are you handling that?
Actually, I was just going to bring it up since you did.
Well, there we are.
So I talked this over with Classic Theater when we were getting ready for auditions. We decided to commit to fully vaccinated for the entire cast and crew from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
They require proof of vaccination at the door for performances. If I recall correctly, they're also going to require masking for the audience, which is perfectly reasonable. The performers will not wear masks on stage. It's important to be able to deliver the whole flavor of the show.
Yeah.
But we have been rehearsing with masks on and off as we run into some issues over the time we've been rehearsing the show, to try and make sure everybody's safe and get everybody to opening night safely as well.
Okay, David, now you play the part of, and I have that written down somewhere, David is playing Philip.
Philip
Are you
Galbraith.
the husband?
I am.
You're the husband of Lisa?
Of Lisa
Oh, no, I mean,
slash Sylvia.
Yeah,
Yes.
Sylvia. I'm not starting any rumors.
That's quite all right.
Okay. So how long have you been acting, David?
I've
I always
been-
like to ask that
I've
question.
been involved with community theater for about the past 12 to 15 years.
Okay, so
Yes, yeah.
And-
My father-in-law broke me into the business a while ago, said we're taking a ride on a leap of faith, and here I was, and here I am, 15 years.
Is this role more challenging or less challenging?
This has been the most challenging role that I have ever had, just in the figuring out the nuances of Philip and what drives the man. His incentives, his fears, his complexes, so to speak. But it's been enjoyable. And like Lisa said, you know, Stephen has reminded us of what needs to be done and what we need to think about in terms of what we represent as Philip Gelberg. And I've come to feel sympathy for Philip, learning about him and the things that he has been afraid of and the impact that it's had on his life.
Did you have to, it would seem to me, I mean, the play is about Crystal Docked and what happens after that broken glass, obviously.
part of it, for
Part
sure.
of it. Did you feel that you had to look at historical information to give you a feel for what those characters were feeling at the time? Now, Arthur Miller obviously was living during that time.
Absolutely,
So.
yeah, and that was one of the, as soon as I accepted the role of Philip, I wanted to understand the context of the situation, you know, not being able to sympathize or to fathom what it was like to live with that kind of fear and the situation and the cultural contexts was really what I wanted to look at, because Philip is a complex man who is dealing with his issues yet trying to suppress them, and I wanted to know how to effectively portray that. So it was a key component. And again, Stephen, you know, pointed us in the right direction. Say, think about this. What are people saying about you, and how does, and then to figure out that was all part of the era.
Yeah,
So-
and this takes place, you said 1938, but
Correct.
remember, in 1938, I don't believe the gas chambers were running full tilt or anything. So really, what they were fearing was minimal
Yes.
to what was going to
Going
happen.
on, yeah, absolutely, and not
And you knew
understand-
that in your own mind.
Yep, and not understanding, and that would help in several of the scenes, you know, understanding that it's not as maybe real to him yet, and it may, you know, that maybe it's unimaginable. And there's another character, a member of our cast, who says, you know, it's not going to last. So those kinds of things kind of drive me to understand how to portray Philip.
Right. It reminds me of the film, I don't know if you've seen it, but Ship of Fools. But it's an amazing film because in one of the characters, this Jewish man says, well, they're not going to kill 6 million of us. They can't do that. And besides, I'm a German.
Yes, yeah.
That's one of the lines in the show. How could these people turn into monsters like this?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, that they were Germans. They were German citizens, and they couldn't fathom the fact that they would have been turned upon.
Yeah, the level of persecution that they would face.
It was a horrific time, and yet in this play, we're not really seeing the horror of what was to come.
No, but we do see the forced immigration. That's what's being reported in papers that is really triggering Sylvia's paralysis, the helplessness. They have an ethnic connection to the people in Europe. Philip and
Well, they have
Sylvia-
relatives there, probably.
They do. Philip and Sylvia are both Jewish. So there's that connection, which actually is interesting that we're doing it in a synagogue. I think another angle, too, to your point about what's to come, at that point in time, the people in the play don't know. But the
No, that's what I mean.
But
But the audience does.
The audience knows.
Yeah.
And they kind of know that there's more reason for Sylvia to be fearful than perhaps she would even know if she was there at the time. By the way,
That's a good point. That's
this
a
was
good
written
point.
in 1997, by the way.
Pardon?
It was written in 1997.
Yeah.
But I think you're right on target that the author lived in those time periods.
Sure. Yeah, of course. But you bring up something really interesting that I hadn't really given that much, I guess, thinking about, is that the audience does
I do
know,
know.
but the characters do not.
No.
So they're
its
kind
own-
of working with two scenarios.
And reading things into it that are intentionally there, but they're not overt. It's all implied.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I know that, I'm going to thank you for being here because we have another guest that is coming in. And I believe that, I did watch the video that Sorelle made that you sent me. I believe that it was you that sent it to me. And I'm going to address that. So Sorelle, you in the note that I got from, maybe it was you or whoever sent it to me.
It's our producer, Laura.
Yeah, our producer sent it to, Laura Griffin, right? She sent it to me and she said, you have an intimate feeling about this. So tell us what that is. And you did show I did see your video.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm finding the discussion just wonderful. One of my side positions has been in my career has been as a teacher of Holocaust history at our Capital District's congregation Beth Emeth in Albany.
Oh, in Albany, okay.
And so for 20 years, I taught 6th grade Holocaust history. And what clearly could have been a very disturbing and I would say depressing Sunday mornings, instead it was more uplifting by the insight and the intelligence of the 6th grade students. And throughout the years, one of the questions that I think that stuck with me all these years was a bit unusual, and I'll never forget. It was I believe an 11-year-old girl who asked, why didn't America do more? Why didn't the president do more? Why didn't the people do more? They could read about these injustices that were being done to people, the Jews, the infirm, the
gays, anybody.
and
What they call mental defectives.
yes, and it was fascinating to me in this play, and obviously Stephen really shared about an intimate portrayal of a marriage that unfortunately has crumbled, is continuing to crumble. But in there is the whole context of Kristallnacht and what's going on in Germany. And the question of how it impacts someone like a Sylvia, who is phenomenally sensitive and intelligent in terms of current events, and as opposed to everybody else. And the different, how it affects their daily life, what they do about it, and what, unfortunately, they don't do about it. And we were all, in essence, some of the victims of this terrible chapter in history.
It was a horrible chapter, and we can't forget it either. Would you suggest, okay, this is going to be an odd question for you. Would you suggest your students see the play?
That's a very, this particular play has some adult themes in it. But Classic Theater Guild has done different plays. One was Judgment at Nuremberg.
Oh, that was wonderful. I saw that. Oh, God.
So I was fortunate to be cast in that as well, and I definitely encouraged it, and a lot of the faculty actually also showed up. So that was wonderfully, I would say, both enriching and certainly a moment of joy for myself personally.
Yeah.
But absolutely, this one though, I'm going to say, is more of an adult because of some of the marriage themes.
Okay. Yeah, and I understand. Well, I always ask that whenever I have a guest on. I always say, what age group are you looking at? Because I think it's important for parents to be aware, because I know as a parent I've always wanted to bring my kids to theater, but I've always been cognizant of, is this a good theme for them? But then they watch Grease, so there we go.
You're right, and I would definitely say by age 13, yes, definitely come.
I think teenagers
Absolutely.
Yeah, in this
effectively.
day and age, believe me, I watch TV and I'm going, can you really put that on? And this is prime time. It's not like,
Right.
not
And
midnight.
and with streaming, everybody's
Everybody's seeing it. So to me, it's like it's out there, whether you can protect as much as you can, but it's not always possible to protect totally. So your character is, Harriet. And who are you in?
I actually play Sylvia's sister.
Okay.
And I am probably someone where the current events don't interests me. I'm enjoying a life in New York City and Brooklyn.
And it's not going to affect me.
Right, and a little bit the head in the sand, so to speak, and her sister very poignantly brings up the issues that you should think about it, and she mentions some of the pictures even remind her of our grandfather, but I'm not there yet. I'm not there intellectually or fearfully, which you...
And we weren't in war at that time. We didn't enter the war.
Correct.
I mean, Poland was invaded in 1939. So you had that, and then we were kind of putting our, what's going on, and then, of course, Pearl Harbor. I mean, it's like one thing.
Well, even after Poland, the Battle of Britain.
Yeah, the Battle of Britain. That's right, that's right.
The takeover of Europe,
Yep.
that all happened before we got literally involved.
Yeah, and we were kind of sitting back saying, well, we don't want to really get involved, and, it was, and I understand that governments have to look at the big picture, but sometimes things happen so fast that you have to jump in at some point.
Well, I think today there's often been debates about that in the country, about the situations we're dealing with today. So at that time, I think there were debates in the United States and other places across the citizenry. What should we do? What role should we play? How should we act? And it's brought up very personal with Harriet and Sylvia.
Yeah.
Right? They have different views, seeing the same things about how they feel about it.
Exactly.
And what they think they should do.
And people say, well, you stay out of other people's business. Let them do what they want to do. And I've heard this. It's like, where there's a lot of women's oppression, in countries where they just really oppress women. And they say, well, that's what they do. And it's like, yeah, that's what they do, but what about the women that are being oppressed so badly, and don't want to be? It's not like, oh, yay, I'm so happy they're oppressing me.
It can't just be an accident of where you're born.
Yeah.
That's really not fair.
No.
But yet, how do you actually take action? I mean, part of the problem with Sylvia, the way that it's exemplified, is she doesn't have any mechanism to actually take action for what she's seeing happening. It's mirrored in her relationship. She feels equally helpless about dealing with the crumbling marriage.
In the play, do they attempt to try and get the people that do they have relatives in another country, in Germany?
It's clearly implied that that's the case.
They don't attempt to encourage them to leave.
It's not brought out explicitly. I think there was a matter, you had to focus on how to communicate a certain story, and the focus is on Sylvia and Phillip,
I see.
her sister, and as metaphors for what's going on.
Yeah, it sounds like a wonderful play.
We really hope you'll come
Yeah,
see it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
others
yeah.
obviously as well.
It sounds wonderful, and it looks like you're doing some good stuff at teaching a little
you
bit
so
too.
much.
Thank you so much for being here, Sorelle.
Thank
It's always
you.
a pleasure to have guests like you on the show. I do want to remind people, how can they see it?
The play is at the Temple Beth Israel on Union Street in Niskayuna.
Yep.
And we open next.
Is it Eastern Park? Is it Eastern?
Well, it's on Eastern Parkway in Union.
Yeah, I know,
So
it's kind of
it's
an
on
odd.
Eastern Parkway.
Yeah,
You'll find
exactly,
it.
yeah,
It's on
yeah,
Union
yeah.
Street,
Because I go
We-
by it a lot,
We
yeah.
open next Thursday, the 20th. It
Okay.
plays through Sunday, the 30th.
Okay,
Tickets, you can get them online through the Classic Theater Guild website or Facebook page.
okay.
There's also telephone numbers there to call if you want to order tickets in advance. It's Thursday, Saturday nights at 7, Sundays at 3.
I like the idea that you have matinees. Yeah,
Always,
yeah,
always.
yeah. I mean, every theater does, but it's really good to know that they do have.
Friday nights is a dark night.
Is it because it's being held in the in
Yes, it
Temple?
is, yep, yep.
Yeah,
Well, I
so,
should mention also, we have live cello music for
oh, nice.
transitioning to carry the theme of the show.
Ah.
That's one of the things I spoke to Arthur about, was the music.
Okay,
of the show.
who's performing?
Laurel Melnikoff.
Okay,
She's
good.
based in Albany.
Yeah.
So essentially the cast is 7 people, including Laurel.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for
Thank you.
bringing a play like this. I mean, granted, it's a classic theater guild. Well, I thought, but anyway, that you brought a play like that at this time in our history.
We chose it very intentionally.
Yeah, you did. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Stephen.
Thank
It's
you,
a
Ann.
pleasure to have met you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
to
Thank
have
you
you on
very
the show.
much.
Come on again. And now we're talking with Eric, and oh my goodness, you're doing the homemade theater.
Yes.
The theater, right? Everybody's doing something. You're doing something a little bit cheerful.
Yes.
They're playing our song.
The phrase, and now for something completely different. is
Yeah, oh yeah,
apropos at the
that
moment.
Monty Python, yeah, I love Monty Python.
From something very serious
Yes,
to something
yeah.
very light
It wasn't
and fun.
missed on me, believe me, I'm a Python fan, so.
Yeah. So, yes, they're playing our song by Neil Simon, Marvin Hamlish, and Carol Bayer Sager. And although I am the general manager of Homemade Theater, I am also directing this
You're
particular.
director. Oh, that's where I got the
project.
general manager. Okay.
Probably.
Good. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's where I got it. Yeah, director. Yeah.
And
Looking at
I
the
am
wrong
directing
line.
this as well.
Yeah.
And we open in just about a month from now, in mid-February, February 11th. And as you just were saying, you like matinees, we have 2 matinees
And
each
where,
weekend.
Where
so.
are you performing? You're performing up in Saratoga.
We are in Saratoga. We have relocated from the Spa Little Theater.
I
We
saw
are
that.
no longer there. We are
You're in
now
the Saratoga Arts.
in Saratoga Arts, in the DeSorbo Theater in Saratoga Arts.
Okay.
Yes,
And
which
how
is
big a
320
theater?
Broadway.
How big a theater is that?
It's about 1/5 the size of the Spa Little Theater, so we can seat just under 100 people.
But it's more intimate.
It is more intimate. The change has allowed us to do plays that and musicals that we would not necessarily have done at the Spa Little Theater, because we can do things that are more intimate that would be lost in a larger space. And this particular piece lends itself well. It has a small cast. It centers on.
How small is the cast?
It's 8 people
Okay.
altogether.
That is small for a musical, yeah.
Yes, and it's really a 2-character play, a 2-character musical, and then the other 6 actors act as a Greek chorus, as the
The old Greek
inside
chorus, right? Yeah, I know what you're
voices
saying.
of
yeah.
the characters.
If people don't know what the Greek chorus is, you have to go back to the Greeks,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Yes,
that's where
yeah.
that's
So if they don't know what a Greek chorus is, they serve literally as a chorus in this particular piece, but they comment on the
resonate,
action and
yeah.
they interact with their counterpart, but not with the other character.
right.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful way to bridge a musical too, as well.
Absolutely.
What now? What is this about? What's the play about?
It's
What song are you playing
It
for
is
me?
based on. I should have brought something,
Yeah.
but we didn't. It's based on the real life story of the relationship between Carol Bayer Sager and Marvin Hamlish.
Oh, and they wrote it.
They wrote it.
There you go.
Yes, and so it's about a female lyricist and a male composer.
Gee,
who
what a concept.
get together to write some popular songs. He's very successful. She's just starting out, and she sort of looks up to him, and he's her idol, if you will. So their relationship starts very shaky and then grows, but he has difficulty with her more free-spirited nature, and so they break up, but then they get back together, so it's a happy ending.
I love happy endings, right? Well, in this
has-
day of COVID, I love happy endings.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it has wonderful, wonderful songs, and it's a delightful book by Neil Simon, light and funny, and
So
appropriate
Neil's-
for Valentine's Day, which is when we open.
Yeah, but here's what I'm kind of, it's interesting. Here we have Neil Simon, wonderful playwright. I mean, fabulous. Everything that he writes is spot on. How did he run into Marvin Hamlish and say,
They actually
I would
worked
love
on
to
a-
do a play about you? It's like, what?
I thought you might ask about this,
Oh,
so I did
there
a
you
little
go.
research beforehand. They actually worked together on a chorus line.
Oh.
Neil Simon helped home the book for a chorus line, and
Love that musical.
Neil Simon also worked on Little Me and Sweet Charity
Oh, my
and Promises, Promises.
Okay.
Those 3 were pieces that he adapted from other material, as opposed to this, which is original, and Chorus Line, which of course was based on the experiences of the people who workshopped it.
Yeah. So he actually had a relationship, quasi-relationship with them.
With Marvin Hamlish, anyway.
Yeah.
Prior to.
So
working on this
then
piece.
that's how that all came apart. Came about, not
Yes.
apart, but about. So how did maybe you know, maybe you don't. I mean, Neil Simon must have had to ask a lot of questions in order to write a musical about these 2 people when he doesn't know their intimate relationship.
I would imagine, yes. I don't know a lot about that
No, I
process.
know. I figured you probably wouldn't. I mean, you weren't there.
I couldn't.
What is it? I
guess.
wasn't in the room where it happened.
Right, because I don't really know where the chronology of. They may have been together while they were working on Chorus Line. I really don't know.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I need to get my dramaturg on that and find out.
Okay, yeah, no, that's okay. I'm always asking, just curious about that. So anyway, so the play is going to be, and how big is your cast? Did you say?
8.
8. Okay, so 8 is it's a smaller cast for a musical in a sense.
Yes.
And and who are some of your lead characters?
The 2 leads, Joelle Malinowski is playing Sonia Walsk, and Ryan Munzert is doing Vernon Gersh. This is Ryan's first musical. He's
Wow.
never done a musical before. He's a very
Wow.
talented young man, and he's going to be great. I think
Exciting.
it's very exciting.
Yeah.
And Joelle has done some musical theater before, so they work really well together, and I think they're going to be delightful
I
to
think
watch.
you've picked a good musical for this time in our
Yes,
history. I guess
yes.
it's going to end up being history, but
Yeah,
it's,
we wanted to do something that was light.
yeah, and it will
fun,
get people to come and join you for the play. And how do they get tickets?
They can get tickets on our website, which is www.homemadetheater, spelled
And I think
ER,
we put that
not
up on the
RES,
screen. Yeah, we've tried.
.org. Many times people spell it incorrectly and don't
ORG,
find-
what?
no, the theater, we spell
Oh.
it ER, not RE. So
Believe me,
It happens
from
all the
someone,
time.
from someone who types theater, probably every show, I have to look, is it ER or is it RE? And they say, oh no, it's supposed to be RE. That is the correct spelling. And it's like, no, everybody spells it ER, so,
well, we're an ER camp.
Yeah, you're
and
an
then,
ER.
They can also call.
I thought you meant Oregon. I
No,
thought,
no, ORG, yes, and not .com, we're .org.
Yeah, right,
That's
right.
the
And
other-
I'm an ORG too.
Yes.
Capital Region Today, ORG. So
And,
that's our website.
Of course, our phone number as well, 518-587-4427.
Okay, and they can find that also on your website
Absolutely.
too. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think you're going to have a great turnout because this has got to be an uplifting.
I hope so. Omicron is throwing a little wrench into things, but we're being very cautious. The cast and
Everybody's
crew is
being
all
cautious. Everybody.
fully
Because we want
vaccinated.
theater back because theater just
Yeah.
enriches us so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Eric, for being here.
Thank you.
I'm going to just tell you who's coming on our next show. We're going to be talking about a movie about Benedict Arnold and taking a new look at Benedict Arnold. And then we're going to be looking at Cooking with Denise. She's a new chef in the area. We're going to be talking to her. We're going to be talking about the Postal Service and the challenges that they are facing. And then, of course, one of my very favorite guests, Rain Bonsay, will be here, and we're going to be talking about things of our very own. I want to thank you all for watching Capital Region Today, and we hope to see you at the next show. I'll be here. I hope you will, too.